Coming up on Network Africa, Nairobi, Kenya. Body of one of 2 U.S. soldiers missing since last week in Morocco is recovered. Plus, dozens of Nigerian fishermen feared dead after Chad military strikes on Boko Haram. Thanks for joining us on the program today. I am Amarachi Ubani. As always, we begin with major news and happenings over the weekend on the continent.
On Saturday, foreign-owned shops in South Africa's Eastern Cape shut their doors as tensions over undocumented migration led to fears of possible unrest and attacks on migrant-run businesses. The closures come amid a wider rise in anti-migrant tensions across South Africa, where concerns over undocumented migration, crime allegations and pressure on local businesses led to protests. Spokesperson for the Eastern Cape Development Corporation, Busiso Ralarala, said the agency was aware of alleged subletting at some properties and will deal with the matter decisively, adding that rent should be collected directly by the ECDC.
If they can be proven in Dubai, they are not. It's not ours, but for Home Affairs to deal with those people. I think that's what I can say in as far as the foreigners are concerned.
Officials say some businesses may be operating under disputed lease arrangements, while others have called for proper legal processes to be followed. ECDC has said alleged subletting will be investigated and addressed where confirmed. The first African Social Media Influencers Summit 2026 brought together prominent digital creators, content producers, media personalities, and communication experts from across the continent in Addis Ababa. Organizers Pulse of Africa and Agatech Enterprise framed the event as a digital age pushback against Western media narratives, casting social media as a tool for African creators to reclaim the continent's story.
Our team, Influence for a Better Africa, is not merely a slogan. It's a mission, it's a responsibility, and above all, it's a call to action. And the authors of this new African story are in this room.
Organizers said the goal is to move beyond likes and visibility and use online platforms to support tourism, investment, and policy engagement. Supporters of Niger's ruling National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland gathered in the capital Niamey on Saturday for a rally in support of the military authorities amid heightened security concerns across the Sahel region following recent attacks in neighboring Mali. Speaking at the event, Colonel Boubacar Soumana Garanke, chief executive of Niamey City, said the country is facing attempts to undermine its independence. Other participants highlighted economic and political grievances, expressing support for the current authorities and calling for continued stability under military leadership. The rally comes as Niger's military authorities continue to consolidate power following the 2023 coup that brought the CNSP to leadership since then. The rally comes as Niger's military authorities continue to consolidate power following the 2023 coup that brought the CNSP to leadership. Since then, the government has implemented a series of political and institutional changes.
Kenya is hosting this year's France-Africa Summit and has become the first Anglophone country to do so. Summit holds today and tomorrow in Nairobi, the capital, and it's co-hosted by Kenyan President William Ruto and the French President Emmanuel Macron. The summit hopes to discuss issues such as cross-border investments and sectors like digital innovation, sports and creative industries, as well as development finance, sovereignty and youth training. Now, earlier, the French president, during a press conference in Nairobi, declared that France no longer considers Africa its backyard. He defended the presence of West African leaders at the summit, pushing back against suggestions that the region is underrepresented, while acknowledging the three countries had been sidelined following the military coups. He addressed the issue of France withdrawing from Mali at the request of its authorities, but warned that the decision did not serve Mali well. The Kenyan president welcomed the shift in approach. Both leaders announced an $83 million rehabilitation of the Nairobi commuter rail network, linking the capital to satellite towns including Syokimau, Ruru, and Kikuyu.
I want just to clarify the fact that Western African countries will be present. I mean, President of Senegal, President of Ivory Coast, President of Gabon, President of DRC, and many others will be here. It's hard to say that Western Africa will not be present in this room. You have three countries, and I do regret that, which decided, because of the coup and the behaviors of the military people in charge, to put them aside from the rest of the club, by the way, aside of ECOWAS as well and others. It doesn't mean that West Africa is not part of this meeting. The biggest leaders of Western Africa will be here. And beyond that, we've been very vigilant to have civil society, even from Sahel states, being present. Because we can disagree with some of these governments, quote to quote, but we never disagree with people. We love these people. In Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Niger.
Well, President Macron's visit to Africa for the France-Africa summit began on Sunday. Since the independence of France's former African colonies, the country has maintained a policy of economic, political, and military sway, dubbed Franc-Afrique, which includes keeping thousands of troops in the region. Leaders in those countries, however, and opposition figures have often criticized France over what they describe as a demeaning and heavy-handed approach to the continent. Mr. Macron's comments on the changing geopolitical landscape says France can disagree with West African governments, but never disagrees with the people. And amongst the leaders appearing and present at the summit in Nairobi is Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, who's attending the summit from France. He flew in from France to Nairobi, Kenya, to attend the summit as part of his official itinerary. The president is attending the summit, which is taking place at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. He is participating in high-level sessions alongside more than 30 other African heads of state and government. Let's talk about this now. Joining us is Kenyan journalist Cyrus Ambati. Cyrus, great to see you again. The capital, Nairobi, is abuzz, I believe. Lots of motorcades along the streets. Well, normal life, I can imagine, being a little disrupted. But this is the first time the summit is holding in an Anglophone country. Do you know why that is and why Kenya was picked as the host?
Thank you for me the show. Actually, as we put it, it's the first time that such a summit is held in an English-speaking country. We understand that these are part of the strategies that France is trying to apply to kind of get influence in Africa. You know, most parts of West Africa, as you have said very clearly, France is facing kind of rejection from some countries like Mali, you can say Burkina, and other countries there. And most countries there, which were colonized by France, are kind of rejecting the France leadership in one way or the other. So I believe that Mr. Macron is trying to use this occasion to kind of influence the English-speaking countries to have more of a clear or rather a new chart way forward to work together between English-speaking countries and France itself. So it's a way of trying to get more friends as opposed to what we had in the West African countries in the past.
Well, what is the gain for Kenya President Ruto has been quite embattled over the last few years. There have been protests against cost of living crisis. With the war in the Middle East right now, almost every country in the world has been impacted by the shortage of fuel supply as well as natural gas. So what will be the gain for Kenya at this time? Or is this a distraction from domestic problems for President William Ruto?
Well, in one way, you may want to look at it as a distraction, but when you look at it critically, you find that Kenya is gaining in so many ways because, as we are speaking, there are so many people in the country, businessmen, presidents, almost half of them, prominent businessmen in the region from a country like Nigeria. We counted almost 10 jets which flew in carrying those business executives. So even if you say that the president or Ruto is facing, of course, is facing so much pressure in the country. We are having a new budget the coming month. There are proposals in the budget which are giving a lot of pressure and headache. Now this could be a distraction one way or the other, but he is gaining, or the country is gaining in so many ways because all along since yesterday, Mr. Ruto has been appearing on TV, social media with Mr. Macron, driving around, going to social places, going to universities for lecturers. So that way, in one way or the other, it gives him a boost politically. But then once the gates are gone, again, we go back the normal issues where the country is facing. But then Kenya has gained in so many ways because, we understand Mr. Aliko Dangote, the richest man in the continent, has said that he prefers putting up a refinery in Mombasa here in Kenya. That itself is the plus or possible kind of investment that Kenya is going to gain. So the investment or the summit itself is a positive thing to say the business.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, where France and Kenya actually lie relationship-wise. I know that Kenya does have it does have a preference and affiliation with Britain because it was a former colonial master. But France, that's a pretty unusual relationship, right?
Yeah, it's true. But then you see, most Kenyans are usually trying to learn how to speak French, which for their own survival on one or the other. And then the French serve as a way of boosting their cultural integration in the country. They help most Kenyans to learn French, take them for sessions abroad, come back, and try to integrate them in one way and their businesses here and there. So that's the only way they try to boost their being there locally. Also, Kenya is also keen to kind of have their people going to France or another French-speaking country for jobs. And remember, places like UN, there are so many French-speaking countries. So if you have more Kenyans who can speak French, they can benefit in one or the other through such kind of language speaking.
Well, Cyrus, enjoy the view. We'll be reaching back to you for more on this summit held in Nairobi. Thanks again.
And thank you so much.
The U.S. Army has confirmed it has recovered the body of one of two soldiers who went missing last week during a training exercise in Morocco. The Army identified him as 27-year-old First Lieutenant Kendrick Lamont Key Jr., a platoon leader and air defense artillery officer from Richmond, Virginia. A Moroccan military search team found Key's body in the water along the shoreline within a mile of the cliffs where both soldiers went missing on May 2nd. U.S. and Moroccan forces are using ground, air, and maritime assets to continue their search for the other missing soldier. Brigadier General Curtis King, Commanding General of the 10th Army Air and Missile Defense Command, said in a statement, the Army is mourning the loss of Key. King Mohammed VI has also released a statement saying, our hearts are with his family, friends, and teammates, and all who knew and served alongside him. Both soldiers were participating in African Lion 2026, an annual joint military exercise designed to strengthen operations between U.S. forces, NATO allies, and African nations. We're off on a short break, still ahead on Network Africa. Botswana entrepreneur breaking arthritis stereotypes with a business of her own. Stay with us. back, dozens of Nigerian fishermen are feared dead after Chad's military launched airstrikes on Boko Haram militants in the Lake Chad region. A local fisherman's leader spoke to the BBC about it. Abubakar Gamandi Usman, chairman of Lake Chad Basin Fisheries Association of Nigeria, said several of the union's members were missing. An estimated more than 40 had died. No bodies have yet been recovered, but Usman believes some fishermen were hit by the strikes, while others drowned after attempting to flee in overloaded boats. Authorities in Chad and in Nigeria are yet to comment on the issue, but Chad's presidency is said to have carried out retaliatory intense airstrikes on Boko Haram strongholds. In a statement on Facebook, the presidency said it had responded to unjustified attacks by Boko Haram, which took place last Monday and Wednesday, and targeted Chadian military bases near Lake Chad, reportedly killing at least 24 soldiers and 2 generals. Staying in Nigeria, recent statistics from government agencies reveal a staggering rise in the use of synthetic opioids and local inhalants among teenagers and young adults. This report examines the menace of drug abuse and its proliferation, which is no longer a distant threat to citizens. Our correspondent Chris Lems reports.
Daylight or under the cover of darkness, the statistics paint a grim picture across Nigeria. The plague of substance abuse is no longer a peripheral issue. It is a shadow lengthening over the country, silently eroding the potential of a generation. The numbers are staggering. While the 2018 UNODC report first sounded the alarm with a 14.4% prevalence rate, nearly triple the global average, current projections suggest the crisis has only degenerated.
When you do adverts that promote it, when people that they call them celebrities, but they publicly promote substance use, and you can imagine the effect of this on the youth.
Mental health experts argue that the traditional safety nets, family and society, are lagging behind. The stigma of addiction often traps a victim in a cycle of silence until it is far too late to intervene.
Most of my patients in Yaba Psychiatry will tell you that they started from their homes. When that guest comes to your house and you go and bring that exotic drink, so you're associating that exotic alcoholic drink with status. And your son is a big man too, so he feels he should drink it to feel like a big person.
The menu of distraction is diverse, from locally cultivated cannabis to high-potency synthetic strains imported under guises like Loud and Colorado. Law enforcement agencies like the NDLEA have intensified their crackdown on notorious dark sports. One such flashpoint is Jejelaye Street in Ajegunle, Lagos.
Go to any street, even with the street I'm residing before I came down at Tolu side. If you go to the canal side, you will see those boys there gathering there, smoking Indian, smoking. They just look for somewhere just to hide themselves and do their business.
The proximity is chilling. Our cameras captured a primary school just a stone's throw from a known drug hub. Here, education and addiction exist in a dangerous daily embrace.
So I'll be fighting those boys seriously. Arrest them at the end of the day, the police will release them. The NDLA, they came around, even they go into the hotel, they search everywhere, the bar, the rooms, everywhere. They couldn't find anything. So one of the notorious was arrested yesterday.
But the threat is migrating. It's no longer confined to the trenches. Drug labs are now springing up in quiet upscale residential estates.
If you see within your neighborhood that the greens are dying or are turning yellow, are turning dry, then you have a reason to suspect such compounds where those things, such discharges are coming out. So those are the things and then when you keep smelling, when you keep in the night, you keep smelling, perceiving chemical smell from a particular compound that are not usually active during daytime, but they are active at night. Those are things that should give you some heads up to be able to alert the authorities, especially in this case, the NDLA.
The correlation between this chemical surge and the rise in violent crime is undeniable. From petty theft to organized banditry, the trail often leads back to a needle or a pill.
So if we can deal with drugs, we will be half done with crime.
Fighting drug abuse is a complex multi-front war. It requires more than just raids. It demands an overhaul of how we view mental health, parenting, and border security.
We have other categories of people. They are not using drugs. They just want to get money. And this is their enterprise. So they do it professionally. They recruit people to use. Because the more people you get to use drugs, the more people you get to be addicted. The more people are addicted, the more people you get money.
In the last 4.5 years, we've made over 75,000 arrests and made seizures, drugs in excess of 15 million kilograms across the country. That's huge.
Until the demand is curbed, the supply will find a way. For the youth of Nigeria, the stakes couldn't be higher. Chris Elems, Channels Television.
A grim reality for us all. Now in Botswana, an entrepreneur living with a severe rheumatoid arthritis is challenging perceptions of disability by building a skincare and crafts business from her wheelchair. Joan Zoe Kagasa was recently seen knitting woolen caps and navigating her surroundings in a motorized wheelchair. And from the wheelchair also, she formulates and hand-makes skincare products for her business, Zoe's Natural Body Shop and Home.
I went to the doctor because I had pain. I had swelling on my knees, and it was severe. It was getting worse. Because it happened since, I think, 2015. Yeah, then in 2016 it was worse. 2016 December it was even much more worse. So I moved home January 2017. Then I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. It took me 2 years to accept the condition. Yeah, because at first I think it was just that episode of Larry and where you don't know what's happening. Natural Body Shop is a registered business in Botswana. Under SIPA. I make skincare products, yes. And I've studied skincare actually to be able to do whatever I'm doing at this point. At first, it started as a dream just selling lip balms because someone had beeswax at their farm and they made lip balms out of it and I sold them. Then they went on to make body butter. And at the time, Botswana temperatures hot and stuff, it was melting. So I was like, you know what? Customers were coming back to me like, this is melting, what? And when it melts, it's like your product is not legit. So I had to go on and study and take it to where I am now. Where now I can make soaps. Some I make from scratch. I make creams, I make lip balms, I make all things skincare. Challenges that I face is I can't be out there all the time. And the very same business that I'm doing, it's the very same business that's taking care of me at the moment because wheelchair life itself is not expensive and it's not for the faint-hearted. So it helps me live my day-to-day basis life. And it's growing again, it's not growing because sometimes I fall sick. The money from the business is the one that takes care of my health.
We'll cross over to Mozambique, which has been facing water scarcity and growing challenges in food production. But the Moza Hydroponic project, founded by Samuel Alexander, has been promoting hydroponic farming as an innovative solution to ensure food production with lower water consumption and greater efficiency. In addition to maximizing space utilization and accelerating production cycles, The farming initiative significantly, by about 10 times, reduces consumption of water and other resources. Now, in practice, the hydroponic process begins at seed germination. Once the seedlings are prepared, they're transferred to specific growing systems where they receive a continuous supply of nutrients and irrigation. The technology can be adapted for different crops, from leafy vegetables to larger plants such as tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers. Here's where we leave you with some fun facts about the continent and the countries here. Did you know that the Central African Republic is loaded with gold, diamonds, uranium, and oil? Kind of resources that make other countries wealthy. But decades of political instability, coups, and poor governance have left it among the poorest nations in the world. It's a classic African paradox: rich soil, struggling citizens. Also, here's where it gets wild in Central African Republic. In 1977, the country's then president, Jean Bedel Bokassa, decided that he was done being ordinary, so he crowned himself Emperor Bokassa I of the Central African Empire. The ceremony cost about $20 million, with a diamond-encrusted crown and imported champagne, all while his people lived in poverty. I imagine a real-life movie villain moment. And now you know. That's Network Africa. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.